Now for Who Owns Kenya, and this week we profile Equity Bank Chief Executive Officer Dr. James Mwangi, who's also the chairman of the Vision 2030 Delivery Board. Now, among other honors, Dr. Mwangi was voted the Forbes Africa Person of the Year 2012 for his contribution to the local banking sector, with Equity Bank currently serving over 8 million customers in 5 countries. In 2012, Dr. Mwangi became the first African to win the Ernst & Young World Entrepreneur of the Year Award, one of the most coveted honors featuring billionaires from across the world who have transformed lives by creating job opportunities and sustainable businesses. So, who is Dr. James Mwangi? Now, he rose from humble beginnings in Kanyema village in the Aberdares. Dr. Mwangi credits his work ethic to his mother, who placed a lot of emphasis on education. Now, he and his siblings did not have an easy life, as they had to sell farm produce by the roadside to make ends meet. In fact, Dr. Mwangi sold charcoal to help feed his family, which he says sparked off his interest in commerce. He secured a scholarship from the government that enabled him to join secondary school and put him on his path to success. Upon completion of his studies, Mwangi worked for the now defunct Trade Bank, which collapsed in the late 80s. His break, ironically, came in 1993 when he was called in by what was then known as Equity Building Society to help wind up the company, which was 33 million shillings in debt and making annual losses of 5 million shillings. Dr. Mwangi, however, had different plans for the company. He steadily grew the building society from a membership of 27,000 to well over 100,000, and he later convinced both the staff and members of Equity Building Society to buy shares in the company in order to raise enough capital to see the society transform into a bank. Now, this dream was finally realized in 2004 when a capital injection of 740 million shillings was made from private investors, and this heralded the establishment of Equity Bank. 2 years later, Equity Bank was listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, transforming Dr. Mwangi and the bank's shareholders, who were largely members and employees, into instant millionaires. Now, having come from humble beginnings, Dr. Mwangi has remained true to the push to educate the less fortunate in society, and he is the patron of the Equity Bank Wings to Fly program that has mobilized over 6 billion shillings in scholarships to benefit over 10,000 children across the country. A philanthropist, he has also made donations to, among others, the Meru University Science and Technology Center, where he made a personal donation of 100 million shillings. And he's also the single largest donor to the Africa Leadership Academy, which is based in South Africa, with a personal donation of 30 million shillings. So just how much is Dr. James Mwangi worth? Well, last year he made over 178.32 million shillings on the Nairobi Securities Exchange through his investments in various stocks. Let's take a look at Dr. Mwangi's portfolio. Top on the list is his shareholding in Equity Bank, where he owns 3.45%, which is valued at 4.18 billion shillings. He also owns 3.97% of British American Investments, Britam, valued at 600 million shillings. Dr. Mwangi, through Britam and Equity Bank, indirectly owns 1.8% of Housing Finance, valued at 68.26 million shillings. That brings Dr. James Mwangi's net worth at the NSE to a total of 4.849 billion shillings. He has, however, had to offload some of his holding in Equity Bank over the years to meet the government regulations that prohibit directors in any bank from owning over 5% of the bank. Over the years, Dr. Mwangi has offloaded 1.6 billion shillings worth of Equity Bank's shares. Now, through his other business interests, though they remain largely secret, with his 4 sons thought to be managing various investment interests on his behalf, Dr. Mwangi is estimated to be worth well over 8 billion shillings. And with that, we move to our quote of the week. And this one is from a gentleman called James Britam, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, who is a poet and a filmmaker. And he says, "The only limits are, as always, those of vision."